Hey, hi, hello. Now, my eyebrows might be atrocious, but you see this glow? Did that rhyme? But really though, you know what this is? Of course I washed my face, moisturized, but then that glow on top is sunscreen. So I hope you put some on today. Have you? Unless it's nighttime, obviously, but if it's daytime, I hope you wash your face and put some sunscreen on. Don't look at my eyebrows. Just when people are like glass skin. It's just glass. No, it's just mine, but seriously, the sunscreen. And this one is a Korean one. This is not sponsored. I wish it was. Please, Isntree, help your girl out. But it is, I can put a picture here. Isntree hyaluronic acid watery sun gel, SPF 50, plus, 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 plus. She's my favorite. I've tried many and she's a star. She's a rock star. Anyway, hey, hi, we're here to talk about books. Yes, let me back up from the camera. It's getting weird. Welcome back. I have my wrap up, a wrap up. I don't know the last time I did a wrap up. Haven't been really reading enough or feeling like doing a wrap up. So here we are starting the year off on a positive note with my January wrap up, reads and reviews. So total, I read 8 published works in the month of January. I also read 4 fan fictions, but I'm not gonna talk about them here, but that is 12 things I read because, excuse me, all of those fanfics were, I think about, and maybe the shortest one was 70 something thousand words, but the rest were like over 100,000 words. And I read most of them with my eyeballs, only listened to 2 audiobooks. So only one was physical. Actually, truly I read 9 published works in January. One was a reread, which was Freedom is a Constant Struggle. I just didn't add it back to my Goodreads, so I forgot about that. But that was a physical read, well, a hybrid read, the physical copy and the audiobook. I also read one of the books I'll be talking about physically, and the rest were ebooks from my library. Obviously, you can read fanfiction for free on AO3. Is it .net or .com? AO3, archive of our own, if you're looking for fanfiction, because fanfiction is for free, okay? You don't buy it, you don't sell it. It's for free to read online. But anyway, to the 9 books that I read. So quickly, if you would like my thoughts on Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Y. Davis, my copy is over there. I'm not going to be getting it. I'll put it here. It is a nonfiction book, and it was the first book for 2024's Book Community Read, which is a nonfiction book club I host also with Angela from Literature Science Alliance. We had our discussion this past Saturday, so I'll put a link to that live discussion if you would like to watch it. Ray from Bookmark Chronicles also joined us. It was a really great discussion. So if you would like to hear thoughts on that, I will point you there. Won't talk about it here, but it is a very accessible nonfiction. It is under 200 pages, I believe. Great audiobook because Angela Davis is a great speaker. And yeah, just a good introduction to the concept of collective liberation. Learning some information about Palestine, but how all of our struggles worldwide are interconnected. So I do recommend that you read it. And again, watch the live replay if you want to hear our discussion. Then my theme for the month seemed to be, well, it's because I've been reading a lot of fan fiction that all the ones I've been reading have a romantic, I'm not even gonna say subplot, like romance is a main part of it. So I've just been in a romance mood. So that is why I think 4 or 5 of the books I read this month or in January were romances. Let me get my Goodreads out, refresh myself. I haven't read this much in 1 month in so long. I'm like, hold on, I gotta go back and go back through what I read. So will I remember names? Probably not. Do not judge me. Okay. I said romance, but we're gonna backtrack and start with the first thing that I finished in January, and that was another nonfiction book. I listened to this on audio. It was a memoir. Oh, How Dare the Sun Rise, Memoirs of a War Child. And I believe Mara talked about this one reading before, and so it had been on my mind. And just with learning recently about what is happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I was like, okay, this is a good time to read this. So she is obviously from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and she talks about surviving massacres, multiple, and the story of her and her family members that did survive, because she does lose family members. So that's just a content warning. Obviously it's a memoir of a war child, so there's going to be a lot of graphic stories and really like just hearing about people losing their lives and wounds and attacks and stuff like that. So obviously, if you're not in that space, do not read this. But the first part is really about like her experiences as a child growing up in the Congo, and just, you know, how that was, and then what happened when these different regimes and groups came in, and then living in these refugee camps, and then the long process for her and her family to be able to go to America as refugees, and the kind of the perception that they had before going, and then the reality of the American experience, especially as an immigrant, and an immigrant that is Black in America. And so that was really, obviously, I'm not an immigrant. I was born in this wretched country, but in my later years, or in the last several, probably 10 years, have obviously deconstructed from that American dream thought, and have been able to recognize what they as in America put out as like this American dream, and then the realities when people come here. And obviously everyone's experience is going to be different. There are some people who come here and they have different experiences, and they're like, well, I was an immigrant, I just worked my way up and it was all great. And some people come here with a lot of money, and a lot of people coming here with nothing. And she was obviously a refugee of war. They didn't come with much. And so just the experiences that she was describing from the process, the people that they had to work with, the neighborhoods that they had to live in, the schools that they had to go to, the children are already inherently terrible to me. But then that kind of bullying, having an accent, and like wearing her natural hair, and the bullying that she would get from other like Black American girls. It was just really heartbreaking to read, because I don't know what you call it. Like, obviously I can sympathize or empathize. I always get those messed up. But like, I have nothing to compare that to. I have no experience to feel that. Like, bullying, sure, yes. But like, to have come from a different place and have lost family members, to experience that kind of trauma, to come here and like, sure, now you're safer, but now you're just being traumatized again, or even more. It was a lot. It's, I think, a really, really accessible memoir. Not like any memoir isn't, but it's just written very simply. I think it's, I don't want to say for younger audiences. I feel like a young adult audience, if you're like in the mental space, it's just really, she just lays out her story very simply. I don't know how else to say that, but yeah, I think, I don't know what else. I don't rate memoirs, so I don't know what else to say about it, except that if you would like to learn about someone's experiences of being a refugee and coming to America, and especially from I don't know why I cannot say this right now. Like, it's like my mouth wants to say Dominican Republic instead of Democratic Republic of Congo. Then I would suggest you read this. Sorry, I just struggled through that. Okay. Now to the romances. So I read 5 romances in a row. Starting with Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, which I have been recommended multiple times. And then Angela was reading them. She's like, oh my God, I'm eating this up. And I'm like, okay, let me do that. And okay, I did it. I read that one. And then I read Yours Truly, which is the second one after that. And it has the friend from the first one in it. And I loved both of them. They gave them both 5 stars. So Part of Your World. She is our main character. What's her name? Abby? Alex? Alexis. She comes from like a prestigious family. They're all in medicine, so they're all doctors. So her parents, her brother, and her, and they live in like, I think, Minneapolis. But she ends up getting stuck overnight, like driving back in this little small town. Of course, the man who helps her out of the ditch is the love interest, but he literally, this is like super teeny town. There's not even a doctor's office or a clinic. Like, he's the mayor, I think. There's a random pig that's running around a very small town. And obviously romance ensues, right? But they start with like just hooking up. And she's like, is she getting a, she's not, I can't remember if she's divorced or no, I don't think she's divorced. I think she had like a boyfriend and he cheated on her, or fiance, and he is also just like very like verbally and emotionally abusive, and so she's going through that and like, I'm not ready to move on to something else, like I'm still dealing with this. And so they're like 2 hours away, but she ends up driving back down to where he lives a lot to see him and gets to know the people in the town. And he runs basically like this little B&B that's really cute, and he has this cute doggy. And so, and then one of her best friends, who is she's also a doctor, and she's the one who's the main female character in the second book. I love her because she is she's sassy, for lack of better words. I loved her personality and her support of her friend, but it was also like, some things that hit me hard were her relationship with her parents, because I can't remember if her parents were immigrants or if she was first generation, but they were just like really hard on her, like her ex or whoever they were wanting her to get back with, because he was also a really prestigious doctor. Like, you know, they would look down on someone else who wasn't up to that level. They had part of the hospital was like named after her, or the hospital was named after her family, like very prestigious. So they just expected a lot out of her and her brother. In the story, you learn her brother does something like kind of like off the cuff and not expected for this family at all. So now they're all like disappointed in him. And so they're like, well, you need to do your duty to this family name. And so she's struggling with her pressures of, you know, making her parents proud and having to keep on with this tradition and keeping a family member in this hospital, but also warring with her feelings with this small town boy who's just like, or small town man, sorry. And he is just really kind and he really cares about his townspeople. He also has his own family problems, but you know, he is like, he's not leaving this little town. And obviously it's a romance, it ends in a happy ending. And it's not like any of the plot points necessarily were a surprise to me. I was like, okay, I know what's gonna happen here, I know this is gonna end up, but everything, how it played out was so good. It was so enjoyable. It made my heart warm. I was like, oh my God, he was such a good man, but he wasn't perfect. He wasn't perfect, and neither was she. And oh God, I was just like, just swooning reading it. And I love a good romance where I also care about other characters. So like just getting to know the townspeople and seeing her interact with them and her friend. Yeah, I loved it. And then the second one, so in the second one we are following, and why do I want to say her friend's name is Nikki? I don't think that's her name. Brianna. So she was cheated on, is divorced, so she has a very negative view of men and thinks they all are the worst. She is caring for her ill brother, and her mom lives out of state, but she has like issues with her mother. And there's a new doctor at the hospital that she works at, and they are not getting along at first. And then you see obviously his perspective, and he has anxiety, and I love the anxiety representation in this one. As an anxious person, it was like some of the things, the way she explained things, or how he was like needed to know where they were going so he could look up the parking situation, or be like, oh, if you want to hang out this night, she's like, oh, we can figure it out what we eat. He's like, no, actually, like, let's make a plan. I would like to know what, so I can like look at the menu and figure it out. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt so seen, even though it was a dude. I was like, yes, like just the different things and the way he had to go through his life. I was like, wow, representation matters, okay? And again, he was not perfect, obviously, with his anxiety and other issues that he had with his former, were they engaged, fiance or girlfriend was now marrying his brother. And so had mess over there. But again, his family was in this one. You also see obviously her family, and you see a little bit of Alexis from the first one. And just again, I just was like, you know, I would laugh out loud. I thought the humor was great. I thought the people were great. I would be like, this is wonderful. I love him. So if any of that made sense, I think you should read those. I think you should read both of them. I haven't read any of her other books. And I think these are her latest ones. So I was talking to Angela, and I guess there's more mixed feelings about her initial works. I don't know if I want to read them, but anything she writes going forward, I definitely will be interested in. Additionally, I read A Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Christina C. Jones. Now, Ray from Bookmark Chronicles was reading this, and she was like, oh, it's so cute. And I was like, perfect. I was leaning into the Christina C. Jones and picked this up. She, I think on Christina C. Jones' website, has like a whole thing of like all her books separated into kind of different categories. And this one, this full series, Serendipitous Love, has 6 books in it. And it was titled Warm and Fuzzy. Cozy and fuzzy, warm and fuzzy, warm and cozy, something like that. And I was like, perfect, that's exactly what I need right now. Well, bamboozled and led astray, CCJ, because I started this off and I was like, oh, I'm eating this up. I'm loving it. This is so cute, because we have the main character, or the heroine, her name is Simone, and she owns a floral business. And of course, all of the business owners in this area are Black, and she ends up meeting the owner of like a coffee, it's like a coffee shop by day and like kind of like a bar lounge at nighttime. And so they meet, and it is like, and so cute, and this like, you know, she's tasting coffee from him, and he's like, I'm gonna show you how a real coffee is made, and just all of this stuff. I'm just eating it up. And then, bam, she says, not so fast. I lured you in with Warm and Fuzzy, but I am here for trauma. And there was just like, not one, let me think, hold on. I'm gonna say them in my head so not to spoil you. There was one that was, okay, and then there was 2 that was, okay, and then there was 3 that was, okay, I think there were at least 4 that were like, damn. I finished it. I think that the main character, so Roman is the guy, Simone is the girl. I think they're really well-written characters, and he seems really amazing, even with their issues and the way he tried to handle them. I mean, most of them. But I'm avoiding things so as not to tell you what happens. But also, there was a trope in this one that was the 3rd one I had read, because both Abby Jimenez books had it too. Again, I don't want to say what it was, but then this one had it, and I was like, oh my God. Okay, this is getting out of hand. But yeah. My main problem with it was going into this book with the thinking this was Warm and Fuzzy, and then being hit with bam, bam, bam. I thought it was just gonna be a cute little rom-com, and she said nor. So she, I don't know if she has like any kind of relationship history that really comes into play. He does, but I don't think she does. She's just like super busy with work, whatever, meets him, and then they have these different things that come up that end up being like stepping stones or like roadblocks in the relationship. Like overall, the relationship is really great. Again, CCJ also, it always feels very real. The characters feel very real and relatable. And, you know, of course, the sexy times was delicious. But those things, without me saying them, they were just like, okay, maybe 1. But 4? I feel like there were 4. I might be wrong, but there were at least 3 where I was like, God damn, another one? Where I had to put it down for a while. I was like, I wanted happiness and romance, and you were taking that away from me. So anyway, proceed lightly. I think Ray read all 6, and the only ones she said that I may enjoy were maybe number 4 and 5, maybe? I don't know, but just don't go into it thinking it's gonna be Warm and Fuzzy. Then I read, oh, I have the actual physical copy this time, Do You Take This Man by Denise Williams, who I've read The Fastest Way to Fall, which I loved, and How to Fail at Flirting. Also love that one. I think The Fastest Way to Fall I loved more. But anyway, I got this one. I think I ordered it from like an indie bookstore, and I forgot about it. I just went to my shelves to grab off some romances that I had physically, because I'm like, okay, I'm reading all these romances from the library or Kindle Unlimited, but I need to also read books that I have on my shelves. And I did get it signed and personalized, and then there was these cute little stickers and print in it, and they're eating waffles. Win-win. Anyway, this one, we have our main character, whose name I don't remember. Let's see. RJ is what she goes by, and his name is Lear. So she is an attorney, a divorce attorney, and she randomly officiated a wedding. Like she became I was about to say she became euthanized. That's not it. She did the thing online where she can officiate a wedding for a friend. And anyway, there's some story in here where these like two celebrities randomly were in a park. She was there. She officiated the wedding. It went viral. Everyone loved it. People around her are really surprised because she has a very negative view on love, especially working as a divorce attorney, at the things she said in their ceremony. And so she like blows up and all these people want her to officiate their wedding, but she's a lawyer. So she's doing this like in addition, and her lawyer boss is not happy. But then he was working with like professional sports in California, because this story takes place in like North Carolina, I think. But he was in California and something happened. He ended up getting fired. His girlfriend, his ex, there's mess there, and you find out what happens later. Anyway, he comes back home. So he is helping his cousin who runs a wedding business, and that's how they meet, because she's officiating weddings and he is working for his cousin's company. And their first encounter does not go off well. One of the things he says to her the first time they meet, which is like they bump into each other, he said, "You should smile more." And it's funny because you get his perspective. So you know in his head, he's trying like, because he's been this Mr. Nice Guy before, and he thinks that's why things ended up with his girlfriend how he did. And so he doesn't want to be Mr. Nice Guy. And you hear it, so you get his inner monologue. He's like, I know I shouldn't say it. I know I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it to piss her off. And he says, "You should smile more." And I'm like, oof. So it does not start off well. So it is very annoyed to lovers. And you see them progress, but also this is another one where she's like, let's just keep it physical. I'm not trying to get in a relationship. I don't believe in that. It doesn't work. I'm going to get hurt. And you see them work through their traumas, their past things together. But he definitely is the one to like, I want to make this something real. And she's like, no. And so you go through that and you see that, them having to work together, lots of workplace. And by workplace, I mean wedding venue sex. So it's storage closets and whatnot. But I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 stars. Just because RJ at times, I was like, girl, come on now. You can see this man being it. That is something in a romance. Oh, I know it's in most romances. It comes along with like the miscommunication trope, but I'm like, if he's not just telling you something, he's also showing you, like, why don't you believe him and give him a chance? But yes, we do see one of the characters in one of the previous books. I think it was The Fastest Way to Fall, because that's one of her best friends. They're not in the same city though, so you just get to see kind of like her like FaceTime and like conversation with her. And then he has like an uncle or something you get to see a little bit of, and his cousin. But it's more just them. It's not as much like external people, like, additional supporting characters, which is something I think that makes a romance really 5 stars for me when it's like everybody. So I still did really love this. This is really great. And their sexy times were great as well. And I'm just obviously HEA, so ended up happy. Okay, then my last romance was Only for the Week. Again, a recommendation. I was having sprints and someone was talking about it and Ray endorsed it. This is by Natasha Bishop, another nice short one. I'm in my short read bag, okay? 244 pages. But this one we have our main character, Janelle, or Nellie, I think she goes in the book. And the story takes place in Trinidad, I believe, where her sister and her ex are getting married. You heard that correctly. I can't believe that's been in 2 books that I read, but yeah, her sister and her ex-boyfriend are getting married. And she, in this story, is very clear that, like, yes, that stings, but also she and him were not good for each other. He seems to be a good match with his sister, but her sister, oh my gosh. If you read this, you're going to want to punch her from the moment you meet her. She's the worst. And also you want to slap the mama. But essentially this is a destination wedding. So they go for a week before all of the wedding guests are coming there, so they can like have time to like hang out and relax and stuff. So of course all of the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. And Nellie, our main character, one of her ex-boyfriend's friends obviously is a groomsman, so she like knows of him but didn't know him super well because when they were dating he wasn't around a lot, and they were in their both of their heads, so we're hearing them admiring each other and being like, he was never around when I was there, and him being like, dang, I was never around because I was feeling some things for her and didn't want to, you know, creep on my homie's woman, but now, you know. And so first night they're connecting. I mean, she's like, okay, only for the week, get it? Only for the week. Like, we can bang this out for a week, but after that, like, that's it. I don't want people knowing that we're doing this, even though it's not like her sister wasn't marrying her ex. This dude is not her sister's ex. She's not in a relationship. He's not in a relationship. They're consenting adults. So like, I didn't really get that part of like hiding it from everybody. And of course, you learn eventually that all the friends were picking up on their cues and seeing how she was glowing and how they were all happy because they're having sex all the time. But I didn't really get that part. And then, so his name is Rome, I think. Yes, Rome. He was too perfect. Like, he was like, there was not a flaw. There was not a flaw in this man, and I was like, So I only gave this one 4 stars because of it just didn't make sense, the hiding of the relationship, especially like because of what I said, and that like he was like too perfect. But still, great sexy times. Love the setting, of course, being on the beach, but her sister was so frustrating, and so was her mom. There's just like parts where you're like, oh my God, I just like wanted to smack her. She was so annoying. And then of course it's gonna be explained like why with her sister and her mom, but still I was like, I don't think there's forgiveness here. I don't know. I would be bitter. But it's a really fun, quick read, and I feel like my favorite part though was like the banter between the groomsmen and bridesmaids, and I hope there's further stories with them getting together. But like the friend group as a whole between all of them, that shit was hilarious. That was top tier. Like, sure, the romance was good. Like I said, I thought he was too perfect, but everyone else, even like when one of the dude Rome, his brother, came in, just like the shit they were talking back and forth was hilarious, and I was dying. So I would definitely read more in this series if it's more of the friends of this group getting together with people, because that shit was amazing. I live for that. My mouth is dry. Okay, I have 2 more books. Let's see if I can do this before my battery dies. So I read one for I don't want to say too much because when you see this video, we will not have had our book club discussion yet. But it was This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. This is for my Patreon book club. And I was looking for short, weird books, and this came up on the list. And so I was like, okay, bet. 272 pages. This book I had to go Google like the ending meaning, and I was like reading Reddit threads, and people have different interpretations, which I'm like, yes, I love that one, and yes, I love this one. So without being spoilery or saying too much, since I'm gonna have my discussion with them, this is like a horror, paranormal, maybe a dab of science fiction. It does have that here on their Goodreads. It has horror, thriller, paranormal, mystery, science fiction. It's like all of those things. Our main character, Tiago, we start the story off at a funeral. You learn that his wife has died, and we don't learn what happened to her right away. You do learn it later. But this is just like a really excellent portrayal of grief, I think. Not like I've lost a spouse or someone that close to me, but other people also agreed, because it just was like we were getting a lot of stream of consciousness of just like all the shit that was going through his mind, all of the things he was processing from other people's opinions and statements and things they wanted to say, and like the weird shit that you have to worry about after someone dies, and then there's just all this other stuff that's happening, and you're like, is this real? Is this in his head? And he moves to like get away from that area, which makes sense after you lose somebody, and everyone's just like, it's kind of a reminder, and then even weirder shit starts happening, and then you're like, what's happening here? I don't want to spoil too much, but it keeps getting weirder and creepier, and you get to the end and you're like, what? Like I know what happened in the end, but like, do I know what happened in the end? I don't know. That's very vague, but I'm going to leave it there. All I'm saying is it's on Kindle Unlimited and you should read it, because it was, I don't know how to exactly, I feel like categorizing exactly what horror is sometimes hard, at least to me. But this definitely encapsulate like what I think of horror and what I would want out of it. I don't know. I give it 5 stars just because I'm still thinking about it. Like, I flew through it and I kept being like, what? But like, it's different what than the final book that I read, but like y'all. Yeah, I don't know. I made Robin read it and she's just been like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I know. What the fuck? The last one I read, which is a big what the fuck, but in a different way, is YN by Esther Yee. And then before this, I just filmed a review for Patreon. It was my read and review for January, and it wasn't long because I didn't know what to say. So I don't have much to say here besides what? I will say, if you want a very weird, short, it's only 204 pages, book in the perspective of someone who has crossed the parasocial boundary into stan for a K-pop star, then you should read YN. Will you enjoy it? I don't know. Will you know what's going on? Not sure. Do I know what I read? I'm not certain. It was a book though. So there's that. But that's what I read in January. I don't know why I just did that. Anyway, it feels good to be reading again and wanting to read. And I haven't felt this way in a long time, where I have all of these options and I'm like, I don't know what to read. I want to read all the things, instead of where I've been being like, I don't really want to read. And I really give that to fan fiction. It has really brought me back. And so I'm doing a mixture of fanfic and published works. Also, this is gonna sound really weird, but I'm in this excellent space of reading space. Reading space, but it's where like I don't need outside influences unless I'm specifically looking for something. And so I haven't been really watching a lot of content because I'm like, I don't need to be influenced to read something else, because I think that kind of muddles my mind right now, where I'm like, I put these things up here in front of me that I want to get to soon. I have a couple books on my nightstand that I want to read, and so I'm just like, I'm back to the place where it's like not enough time, but I want to read all the things, and I love this for me. Watching a little bit of TV here, but like I'm doing different things, but I'm like, ooh, I've been wanting to pick up stuff. I also think reading, like obviously I just read what I was in the mood for, being romance, and then outside of that, I was like, okay, I'm trying to keep it to shorter things, and obviously some of these romances got up to almost 400 pages, but then reading the shorter books has helped. Fan fiction just reads, I don't know, it just reads so fast. I can read like 1,000-page fanfic without blinking, and then compared to a 1,000-page novel. But just keeping it, just mixing it up. So right now on my nightstand, I've got a sci-fi book, and I also have a nonfiction book that I'm listening to audio, and then I have these, and I'm like, what do I want to read? I'm reading this Faybound for February for my book club for Patreon. I think also Steph's book club is also reading this one, so I was like, ooh, better read. I'm making Robin read it. Beautiful edition that I got. It was my last fairy loot before I canceled. Oh, that's so pretty. I didn't even look. Oh, that's so nice. Oh, that's so nice. Anyway, yes, so, and I love that this is under 400 under 400 pages? Yes, under 400 pages. So that is where I am right now. There are books that I want to read that are longer, but I'm like, I don't know. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. So anyway, how was your reading? How has your reading been from the start of the year? Hopefully it's off to a good start. And I hope collectively we all have a better reading year than we did in 2023, because it seems like 2023 was a very meh year for everyone. So wishing us many wonderful reads. I also have some arcs that I got from NetGalley I need to read. I'm just waiting to be in the right place for them, because I don't want to, for me, since I'm a mood reader, my mental state really does affect like what kind of books. I just need to be like, do I want to read that kind of book right now? So I'm waiting. Anyway, that's it. Have you read any of these? What are your thoughts? What are you planning to read in February? I, of course, don't have a TBR, but I have ideas of what I may gravitate to. So anyway, I thank you all for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturize, and sunscreen. Put on your sunscreen. And I'll see you in the next one.